Stranger drives child's dog miles to reunite them after learning his story. The power of social media is something our brains can't really grasp. You post some silly update, and in a flash it can be seen by people all over the world. In the wildest scenarios, a single post, an image, some words can rally good people to a great cause. In 2018, the Miller family of North Carolina learned all about the power of social media. Struck by tragedy and separated from their beloved dog, the family sent out a desperate plea for help online. The unbelievable response showed them the heights of human kindness. As the holidays were approaching, the Miller family needed to figure out what they were going to do for Christmas. The decision this year would be tough. Their home in North Carolina had been destroyed. When Hurricane Florence battered the East Coast in 2017, the Millers' home succumbed to the swift waters and raging wind. Their house was left unlivable, but they were determined to rebuild. Riddled with hard times, Jacob and Jamie Miller wanted a break from their chaotic life. Lucky for them, family and friends were willing to take them in, while their beloved German Shepherd puppy, Frank, stayed in South Carolina with Grandma. So they boarded a plane and traveled to Salt Lake City, Utah, to spend Christmas with their extended family. Still, their two boys, Perrin and Rainer, wished their furry friend could join in the celebrations. Then, shortly after arriving in Utah and just days before Christmas, their oldest son, Perrin, complained of a persistent headache and intense pressure in his head. Concerned for their son, Jacob and Jamie rushed him to the hospital. Upon arrival, doctors immediately examined Perrin to determine what was wrong. Facing test after test, all 8-year-old Perrin could think about was his puppy back home. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, doctors were able to pinpoint the cause of Perrin's pain. Nothing could have prepared the Millers for what the doctors were about to tell them. Perrin, doctors said, had a tumor growing on his brain. He was diagnosed with stage 4 glioblastoma multiforme, an aggressive, deadly form of cancer, especially in children. Nothing breaks a parent's heart faster than hearing the words aggressive, deadly, and cancer in relation to their child. But just like every other devastation the Millers had gone through, they weren't going down without a fight. One last kiss from his parents, and Perrin was rushed into emergency surgery. In an effort to comfort him, Jacob and Jamie promised Frank could visit him once he was out of surgery. After several hours and with much relief, the surgery was completed. Doctors successfully removed the tumor in Perrin's brain. A victory in the young boy's fight, sure, but there were still mountains to climb in recovery. A surgery of that magnitude involves significant recovery time, followed by a rigorous course of chemotherapy or radiation treatments to ensure zero cancerous cells remain in the body. This meant that the Millers were staying in Utah indefinitely. Even there, however, they were willing to do whatever it took to help their little boy, even if that meant taking an unpaid extended leave from work and staying put with just a weekend bag. Still, something was missing from their home away from home. Their German Shepherd, Frank, was stuck in North Carolina. He was only 8 months old at the time, and Grandma just couldn't handle him on her own, and Perrin desperately wanted to be with him. With the help of Grandma, they looked into the cost of transporting Frank from North Carolina to Utah, but the $3,600 fee on top of medical bills and relocation costs was overwhelming. Grandma had one last idea, though. Their community was so generous when they helped the Millers get back on their feet after Hurricane Florence. Would it be too much to ask for their help once more? She posted a Facebook plea requesting if anyone had any ideas on how to transport Frank approximately 2,300 miles to Perrin and his family. Unexpectedly, the post spread across social media like wildfire. News of the family's story reached Wisconsin, where it landed on the screen of Rob and Jennifer Reynolds. Touched by the story, Jennifer shared the heartbreaking post with her husband, a former truck driver. With little hesitation, Rob knew he needed to volunteer his time to help reunite this deserving family with their beloved dog. He felt that Frank could help Perrin recover. Rising before the sun, Rob packed up his Subaru Outback at 4:30 a.m. and embarked on the nearly 20-hour trip from his home in Ladysmith, Wisconsin to North Carolina. This was just the beginning of the long trip ahead of him. By the morning of January 3rd, Rob had reached North Carolina to pick up the energetic pup. The next leg of the trip was going to be long and tiring, but Rob hoped that Frank would help him get through it. Since the story had already spread across the internet, Rob posted updates on Facebook in regards to their 2,300-mile cross-country trip. As it turns out, Frank was an amazing travel companion. "Frank and I got along very well," Rob said. "He would sleep or play with his toys. We'd stop and go for walks. If he wanted to use the bathroom, he'd bump my right arm. He was perfect." The trip was going so well that Rob even offered to drive Frank back to North Carolina in the future if need be. But after 52 hours of driving, Rob hoped that wouldn't be the case. On January 5th, 2019, Rob and Frank arrived in Salt Lake City. No one was waiting outside the snowy home, but Frank sensed his family was nearby. The pooch ran right up to the front door of the home. 72 hours after leaving North Carolina, Rob rang the doorbell in anticipation. Unsure what state the family would be in on the other side, as the door swung open, Rob knew the drive was totally worth it. Frank and the Millers went crazy at the sight of each other. For the first time in what seemed like forever, Perrin's face lit up with excitement. The boy explained, "I felt really excited to see Frank. I just really like Frank and he's a good dog." Forever indebted to this kind stranger, Jacob explained, "It's been a whirlwind. It's been hard, but it's been overwhelmingly awesome at the same time." After everything the family had been through, it was a blessing to have Frank back in their arms. The only thing left for the Millers to do was to keep on fighting.